Welcome back, everybody, to the Let's Get Wicked podcast, where we talk about nothing but the game Villainous. I still have to get used to not using Disney in front of the term. It's going to be weird for a few weeks. I am joined by my wonderful friend here, Headmaster Ditto. Hello, Ditto.
Hey, howdy.
I know you're exhausted, so I'm glad you're here. Hope you're not too tired.
It is what it is.
Do I need to tuck you in? Do I need to go get you some night-night milk?
That'd be really nice right about now. It's like hot cocoa or something. That'd be good.
No, I've been drinking a lot of tea.
Oh, if it's like peppermint tea, ooh.
I've been drinking a lot of orange and cherry tea because I'm trying to cut soda a little bit.
That would work too.
But
That would do
But
it.
anyway, besides Ditto, we have another friend, another returning face. We have Aaron joining us from our Ursula discussion. Hello, Aaron. How are you?
Guys,
How's life? Everything treating you well?
yes, I had a pretty good day, long but good day. Life is treating me well.
You guys are making me feel like I had an easy day. So all I had to do today was I had to go to a meeting at 2:00 that lasted an hour, and then I worked on nothing but the show stuff for YouTube, and then I did have to work with the student for about 30 minutes towards the end of my day. But man, guys are making me feel like I have it easy. I'm gonna start
I
drinking.
had a
my tea.
rough week last week, so I'm glad to have an easy day.
Well, luckily for you folks, we're gonna have a fun day.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of fun, guess what came out this week? Perfectly Wretched came out on Sunday, March 1st. And that is what this show is going to be all about today.
Let's go. I've been waiting to
so
talk
much
about
talking.
this stuff for so long.
So before we preface this, I think one of the things I'm most excited to talk about with everyone here is that since I've had the set early, you folks have it in your hands now. So I really want you folks to do more of the talking, and then I'll kind of just like say my 2 cents as we go. Because I have a lot to say. I know Ditto has some things to say, and I'm actually excited to hear about. Aaron, I'm excited to hear what you have to say. It's gonna be a fun show.
Okay.
Yeah. Where do you folks want to start?
Aaron?
Three great villains.
Overall impressions. Let's start there.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Aaron.
I'm sorry, that was my first impression. Just never thought in a million years we'd get Pete. On Mother Gothel, because I wasn't sure if they'd incorporate the 3D animation, but it looks great as just like painted artwork. And Cruella, was a shoo-in. They teased it since the beginning, but just three great villains.
I concur. These are very good
No
villains
doubt.
to choose.
As far as overall impressions for me, definitely a 3 out of 3
Yeah.
on character quality here. Like you said, Cruella, we all saw it coming since the very beginning. Good to finally see the concept fleshed out and done so well, as far as I'm concerned. Gothel, really kind of surprised she made the cut. I kind of expected this one to not go into the 3D world, so really cool to see something from a movie that I admittedly have not watched all the way through.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't made it through that one yet. And then Pete, he's Pete. I've been lobbying for a long time that if they were going to try to get like the original Disney shorts in, that he's how to do it, and they definitely did it. So 3 for 3 all around. They're all insanely fun.
Yeah. I'll say my quick 2 cents. I think the character choices are really good. I think how they approached Pete was fantastic. I think we can all concur that he's probably has some of the coolest art in the game.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would also agree with Ditto. This is definitely a 3 out of 3 or 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. This is by far the best 3 design characters in the game. Period. They are what the vision, I think, of the game was wanting to be from the start. And if you were just to buy this game by itself, I think you would have a blast.
No doubt. 'Cause, For me, Wicked to the Core was the other 3 out of 3 set for me. But 100%, this one has just struck every bell right. It's so good.
Yep.
Do you feel the same way, Aaron? Do you feel like this has struck every thing it needs to do?
I also agree with Ditto. I thought Wicked to the Core was a 3 out of 3 too. And this one, same way. I have a tiny bit more trouble with Evil Comes Prepared, but this one I love. So far, I've had it 3 days, but I love it.
Yeah. I gotta ask, because when it comes to Evil Comes Prepared, I actually really enjoyed the set, but I know not everyone's on the same camp with it. Is it just the fact that all the villains are a little, like, challenging, per se, in terms of some of their stuff, or is it more just, like, systems?
I mean,
for me, and I've talked about this a little bit whenever I get on Board Game Geek or the Discord, I do a lot of solo play, 1 versus 1, and where I play both villains.
Yeah.
It's very weird. So I can't play Yzma very well. And every other villain I can. In this set, I wouldn't be able to play Pete very well. But because there's only 5 gold tokens, you can tell by what Pete's doing that you can guess kind of what his goals are. So I don't feel so bad. And I know I'm playing it wrong. I know I need to play with real life people.
It's okay.
But that's sort of my problem. And then just the other one, Scar is a little too hard, and Radigan might be just a little too easy. But those are my issues.
I gotcha.
Just with me personally.
What about yourself, Ditto?
Evil Comes Prepared is a weird one. First off, it's 3 characters that I had not even imagined could ever conceivably be made to work in a game like this.
Really?
Not Scar?
No joke. Like Scar, maybe. Okay. Scar I could see. But Yzma never crossed my mind once. Radigan, I forgot that movie even existed until he showed up again.
I didn't know it existed, so if that makes you feel better.
But like they're fun, but they each are just a little quirky to me.
I got you.
Like Aaron said, there's probably something I'm doing wrong with them, but I haven't really ever gotten them to the point where they really feel right yet. So
I gotcha.
Not a bad set, but I would probably recommend Perfectly Wretched over it. Easy.
Yeah, I would too. I have a soft spot for Evil Comes Prepared because I love Scar. So I really enjoy Scar and Radigan a lot in that game. I do think it is a little wonky compared to even this set now. Where if I were to recommend people to buy this game and buy some of the expansions, I would probably say get the base game first and either get Wicked to the Core or Perfectly Wretched. I would not recommend Evil Comes Prepared from the get-go. Even with how complicated this set is in terms of all the different systematic stuff, I don't know if I could recommend
I think I would probably recommend this one even over Wicked to the Core. Just because this one compared to Wicked felt like a lot more variety and definitely felt like a bigger change compared to the base set.
I got you.
Because like the characters out of Wicked to the Core, I think could have been included in the base set and it would have felt fine. Like they just kind of clicked right in. These new 3 are so just from the very inception and the mechanics you have to go through feel far and away like an actual expansion on the concept of the game.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Because of tokens and all of that. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not going to say Wicked to the Core didn't have some new mechanics, but it felt kind of safe in how it approached them.
I agree.
Right.
This one went all out towards making just the most off-the-wall stuff they could think of, and it really shows.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like this perspective on it. Well, that's good. So we like the set a lot, apparently.
Yes.
Now, with that, so I guess we'll start with everybody's favorite character from the set. Who's everybody's favorite character?
Ooh, after 3 days, favorite character.
Putting you on the spot.
Pick one. I have Gothel because I love the movie. But Cruella's gameplay is so much fun, and Pete is just can't believe how fun he was. I didn't think he would be fun, but he is. So I can't even pick a favorite.
What about you,
Pete.
Ditto?
Far and away, Pete.
Oh, yeah. You're like, nope.
From the moment I heard he was gonna be in, I knew.
You know, it was your time. Did
was meant
any
to
of the
be.
characters playing them surprise you on how much you find them fun?
Cruella for sure. And I know I'm kind of cheating a little bit, taking some information that you kind of shared with us beforehand, as far as Cruella being a little on the clunky side.
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised to find how smooth she actually is. She definitely has her problems, and I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But I'm amazed at how generally smooth she feels despite that. Like, it's actually a really challenging thing to try to walk up to, and I'm having fun with it.
I think what makes Cruella stand out to me the most is that I love satisfaction when I do perform actions in any type of game. I'm very into the feel of how things operate, and I don't think I've felt so good about like moving tokens around since I've played Root. And playing Cruella, just working with the puppy tokens, it just feels so good. It just feels, there's some satisfaction of putting the token out, then capturing the token, and using the activate actions to do so. I think Corella's got the best use of the activate action of all the characters in terms of just how it's actually implemented with her gameplay. Because you have like Ursula and not Cruella, Queen of Hearts, and to some extent the Evil Queen that use activate, but it's more kind of like a side scheme type of thing, except for Queen of Hearts to some extent. While here, it feels like you are going all in. You need to use those actions, and it just feels right. It does.
Yes.
It feels great.
There's just something more about playing cards and doing actions versus discarding. There's just something more fun about that.
Yeah, I don't feel like with any of these characters I'm even like doing any of the discard hunt stuff. Corella, you are doing it to an extent, but she's kind of built in the way where you can do that, but you always kind of have options to play something.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I really dig that about her. Because I think, can we all agree that this is probably the first set that doesn't have any of that weird card hunting? Like super big?
Like you said, Cruella kind of does it. And Pete kind of does it.
I guess Pete kind of does.
Gothel, I have the least experience with. But she seems like she's kind of fishing for that hairbrush a little bit. But
aside from that, everything else is relatively playable, if you get it at the, I guess, right time.
Yeah. I like one of the things I've like, even I was playing some Scar and Hades today. And, when I was playing Hades, I was like, all right, I'm going to go discard some stuff. Going to go to this location. Going to go chuck some cards. I don't really feel that way as hard with any of these characters so far as I played. Now, granted, really. I have not played them still a huge big chunk, but I probably have still played it more than most people. And just from first glance, Corella's the only one that you really get that way with, but she has tools to instantly get what she needs. Because guess what she needs? Horus and Jasper. She has 2 cards that allow her to literally dig those cards out and play them. On top of that, she has the phone. So when they do go away in the discard pile, you can just snag them right back. There's none of this weird, all right, I'm digging for it, and then, oh, I found it. It's like an instantaneous, I have the card I need, which I think is super helpful.
Yeah, which is
what I think
a lot like
sets Cruella apart from Jafar or Ursula or Hades or any of these other super dig heavy characters is the idea, kind of like y'all said before, she can do stuff with the cards that she would be discarding, but not only that, but she can actually be progressing towards her goal with those cards.
Right.
Because it's not like Ursula where, you kind of want to be chucking contracts you don't want. Yeah. With Cruella, she's got ways to put puppies on the board. She's got ways to capture puppies. even without Jasper and Horus. So like, even the cards that she would be discarding, like she can still potentially be winning the game just on that.
Right.
You know what I call that, guys? You know what I call that? There's this wonderful little word that starts with an O. You know what that's called? It's called options. It's a theme. It's an ongoing theme with everything that I keep talking about with this game. Options. Well, no, I mean, because we can kind of all agree that, so like with each of the sets, people are like, all right, Hades is kind of like the hard one to play with in Evil or Wicked of the Core. Scar is the hard one to play, and Evil Comes Prepared. Cruella is probably the hard one to play in this set. And
yeah,
I mean, debate. It's up to debate right now. I would say so, at least. But guess what? Cruella has ways to do things, and you never feel like you're really stuck with her. You always have something to do that's going to benefit you down the road, because of the way that her deck was put together. And I think that's super awesome. And on top of that, her location stuff is also proving the fact that they're willing to give a player or a character 5 actions at one location and not reduce any at the other ones.
Yeah. I wouldn't say not reduce any of the other ones, because there is one little detail about Cruella.
Go for it.
I hate that her realm doesn't have a 2 power spot anywhere.
Yeah, it's rough.
I hate that so much.
It's rough.
Because, like, even any other characters that have a location like Ratcliffe House that doesn't actually have a gain power at all of them have a 3, a 2, and a 1.
Yeah.
So the fact that, and not only do they have that, but they also usually have another card that helps them gain power. Cruella has that with I Live for Furs. But if you're doing your job in capturing puppies consistently, I mean, the number you're actually going to have on the board to take advantage of can be kind of low sometimes. So that one's a little situational at best. And not only that, like, her realm is super packed in terms of the actions that she needs to be able to take, just because she relies on that activate so much.
Yeah.
The Queen of Hearts, I think, is the only other character that has that many different things to try to do between moving everything around and activating them and making sure you can still play. Like, I understand why they have that 5th spot at Hell Hall, but I really wish they could have stuck a 2 power in there somewhere, because just that one little step up would help her a lot, I think.
I think the big thing with her, though, is that a lot of her cards are very cheap. The only ones that are expensive are her allies, because it's Jasper's 3, Horus's 2. Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember, there's something else that cost. No, it's
Bought Paid For.
Bought Paid For is the only other one.
But on top, well, the thing about that is, though, she only has a couple free cards. Everything in her deck, for the most part, has a power cost on it, and that stacks up.
It does
over time.
Yeah,
I think the point is to really utilize your Furs card, and maybe that one that can bring the Furs card out. I think it's the one with Nanny on it, like the Devil Take It or something.
Devil Take It, yeah. I think so, but like I said, I Live for Furs can be kind of situational, especially like early game. It's going to be hard to play because you're still trying to get your tools out to actually put the puppies on the board. Right. Late game, it's going to be situational because you probably want most of those puppies captured at that point. Like, there's a little window in between where you do have enough puppies to make it work, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's kind of up there with what's it called? I Rule in Hades.
Yeah.
Where it's power ramp card, yes, but
yeah.
There's other things you could be doing, I guess. I think she'd really rather have that one extra passive power than...
Without having played it enough, I can't tell for sure, but I think Furs, I Live for Furs is a pretty powerful card, but I get all your points. I get it.
So this is my thought on I Live for Furs. So Corella's a weird character because I think she's probably out of all the characters the most power starved. And
Yes.
and it's not just because of the fact that she doesn't have a 2 power place. It's also the fact that a lot of the cards she always needs to play cost 1. Then in order to activate Jasper, she has to spend 1. If she wants to activate the telephone, she has to spend 1.
Yep.
Even when one of the items gets discarded by fate, or if an ally goes away or whatnot, guess what? She has to spend 1 to get it back in her hand, and then spend it again, basically making it cost 2 to put it back out into play. And all of those cards have uses towards her goal that you want to use to keep moving. There's been plenty of times I played with her where what will happen is I'll put the fireplace poker stick onto one of my allies, defeat a hero, stick goes away, instantly play the devil take it, put that card back in my hand, and then play it. So that's 2 power I just spent, in not really advancing towards my goal, but even just to put 1 item back out on the board. And that's with anything too. If you got rid of the car, or if you got rid of, maybe early game, you got flashlights that got discarded. If you got rid of the phone, of all things, which would really suck.
With other villains, don't they have more allies that are about 1 or 2 cost?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the trade-off, is especially the ally heavy decks tend to be cheaper allies, minus Scar, I think.
Well, no,
'cause all his
Scar,
items
every
are
single
cheap.
one of his allies costs 2. Every single one of them.
Hmm.
Yeah. The only way you reduce the power of any of them is if you have Ed out there and it's only towards hyenas. So,
But I definitely agree that Cruella's up there as far as the power starving situation, just based on personal experience.
yeah.
But I really think if she had that 1 extra passive power at the milk farm, I think that would work a lot of wonders.
See, I found there's 2 things I found with Cruella is that she is power starved, but I have found that if you get I Live for Furs early game or even late game when you have puppies on the board and you need to make sure that you have power, it is worth playing that card, because what will happen is that if you have a puppy at every single location, that is 4 power that you are getting right immediately into your hand. And if you could play it twice within a turn or 2, you have a crap load of power that is definitely not going away anytime soon. And I've had that happen a lot. When I play
Stockpile is
Cruella.
nice for sure.
Yeah.
I think that might be the strategy. Get Horus and the flashlight out and fill the board. Live for Furs, and then get Jasper and Roadster to capture them up.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah,
Once you get that power, you have basically unlimited funds to do everything, because everything doesn't cost a lot, and as long as you're not necessarily doing a lot of recycling, the power stuff goes away. I remember I was playing against my girlfriend a few weeks ago when I was playing with Cruella against her, and I literally had at one point 5 turns in a row where I had 8 or 10 power. But it took some effort to get there, though, because I've also been on the opposite side of the spectrum, where it was well, I have no money, I can't play anything, I'm at a location where I could play something, but I literally cannot play anything. This sucks.
Yeah, that's what I'd be afraid. Because the other side of the coin is, especially if she's getting faded pretty regularly and there's actually some heroes out on the board.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like she does not want to be spending her play actions making money when she could be spending them getting an effect back, or getting a second activate in for the turn, or something like that that's a little more substantial, I think, than just playing an I Live for Furs.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing it maybe as your first, obviously super early in the game. You want to try to get your engine set up a smidge, but I would definitely if you get a lot of puppies out on the board at one point and you can play the card. I
mean, I definitely think the card has its uses.
Yeah.
It seems a little more situational than just having a little passive power on the side.
Yeah. It's not because with I Rule with
that may
Hades,
just be me.
you can you're going to be killing stuff, so you're going to be putting allies or possibly Titans back in your discard pile. So I Rule by default will have some type of effect at some point during the game. This one is more of a setup. There's a lot more setup with this one.
And you have to realize that, even Maleficent can be power starved if she doesn't get the Raven. I think all of the villains have that spectrum of problems versus, oh wow, everything's going right. It's just the nature. I think it's just the nature of this game.
I was definitely power starved with
Yeah,
Scar earlier
that's
today. That was not fun.
Probably something, because I have pretty bad luck in this game anyway. So
I'm sorry, man. I think it's all those times I stomped your Hades with Scar that you're just like, I've accepted my fate. Literally.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. But overall thoughts on Cruella? I guess that we went right into the Cruella talk. So we enjoy her
so.
for the most part.
Oh yeah, it's like
yeah.
she feels buttery smooth to play. One thing that kind of defines this set as like a sub theme, because there's actually a lot of those now,
Yes.
is how mechanically intensive these characters are.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think the way they decided to make Cruella super technical with having to play the puppies and not really being able to move the puppies around, you have to kind of move around them.
Yeah.
Is really satisfying if you can line up some of these big, 2 or 3 turn, hey, I suddenly have 4 puppies now.
Yeah.
Kind of plays. Like that can be some really satisfying stuff.
It feels really good when you
For
pull it
sure.
off.
My only other thing, and this kind of goes back to the realm, is I think Cruella is definitely up there as the characters that can kind of ignore heroes to a certain extent. For reasons that are like,
Really?
well, like once a lot of her heroes have been played, like a lot of them are either on play effects that you can work around, like the Colonel or Sergeant Tibbs or whatever. Pongo is annoying. Anita and Roger is a little annoying, but those are really the only 2. The rest of them, for the most part, if you pile them up in one place, they don't hurt that much. But the fact that Cruella can have both her activates covered and very limited ways to like work around that hurts. That hurts.
And both of her move, item, and ally also.
Yeah, that too. Like both sets of those can be covered up, and there's not a lot
the
you can really do at that point.
Yeah, I think the clogging is one of her biggest problems with the heroes.
Yeah.
Not that their effects are bad, but the clogging.
She has enough resources that if you want, you could say pick the milk farm and just slowly funnel all the heroes towards that, because that's something that she can sort of do with the Devil Woman.
Yeah.
And if you're having so much trouble with the heroes that you're not really doing much else anyway, using the Devil Ticket to pull those Devil Womans back and just funneling them all towards the milk farm, you can ignore a lot of heroes that way, and that opens up both of the activate and move actions again. But man, if you're playing against somebody who is really aggressive and you just get all the heroes come out, like it's rough. Because like that's the other thing, now that I think about it, is once all of the heroes are out of her fate deck, Flew the Coop, Twilight Bark, what's the other one? Labradors?
Yeah,
that
Labradors.
Hurts. Getting down to just the effects in Cruella's deck hurts really bad.
You want to want to kill things very fast with her, which sucks because one of her biggest downsides.
Because she really doesn't have.
Yeah, she doesn't have the way to kill things because she has to defeat stuff with the allies she has to use to capture.
Yeah, like she does not want to be losing allies, and honestly, to me, she doesn't want to be spending energy trying to find and play the pokers over trying to get the rest of the engine going. Yeah. So it's really, 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 really painful.
Yeah, it's a very balancing act situation where you're like, all right, do I want to spend my resources to kill something, or do I want to attempt to try to capture more puppies? And sometimes you might get blocked in order to even do that by the heroes.
I think she can power through it, but oh boy,
to some extent she can. But easy. There is a point she gets down to the wire where once she has a lot of her locations covered, even if it's not something that's super beneficial to her, because the only spot really that doesn't benefit her on the top that much is the milk farm. But all the other 3 are really important for her. She definitely needs those spots. But I do agree. I don't think the heroes are as bad on her as you think, but it's more of the fact they're covering the actions. That's
without a doubt. And once you get all the heroes out and it's down to just the effects, that is awful.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's awful. Don't ever let it happen. It happened to me once.
Yeah, it's like that's almost Scar levels of just complete shutdown at that point.
It hurts. Anyway, enough about hurting. Let's talk about somebody new. So I want to talk about Gothel, because Gothel has incredibly grown on me ever since I started playing this set. So, like, I originally told everybody that Gothel was probably my least look forward to character in the set, just because I'm not super attached to Tangled. I'm not, like, I do think it's a great movie. I'm not attached to the character. I do think she'd be a great villain for this game. But then when I started playing the character, up there, right next to Dr. Facilier, like I've said on a show before, one of the best designed, if not the best designed character in the game, and one of the most fun characters to play in this game. I also think she's really good.
She snuck up on you.
Yes, I am overwhelmingly surprised how much this character has grown on me. She is incredibly fun. I think overall, how I would describe her, and I know there's some talks about this in the opposite spectrum, but I do think she's a better designed version of Prince John, where she has a lot of strategy built into her, trying to basically build a currency that she can lose in different ways. I think the Fate deck is not brutal against her, but I think it's perfectly designed for how her goal is trying to be accomplished. I like the fact that you have this move, like you're constantly having this character moving and covering stuff, but it's also the way that you kind of gain your currency that you need to win. And the fact that they were willing to be like, let's not do anything super stupid with the board. Let's literally make it so there's 2 locations that have 3 actions on the bottom, 1 action at the top. So we go back to my whole conversation about options. Yeah,
definitely.
That's where I'll stop. I'll let you folks go. But I think Gothel is one of the best characters overall designed in this game. Period.
She does seem to have a kind of flow or something. Again, I haven't played that many games, but I do like all of her cards and how she interacts with this constant hero on the board.
I also got to say that her art is also up there for some of the best in the game. Now, like looking at it more, like, because it's not off-putting at all, because you know it's from a 3D movie, but when you look at it, it just kind of goes back to what I tell people about like how Disney art, well, like when you look at a Disney like film or whatever, it just, you know, that's Disney. Like even knowing that none of this is 3D generated on the cards, it just shows that the art style that they chose for the movie, as well as what they chose for the artwork for this game, absolutely fantastic.
For sure.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Gothel, Ditto?
All right. So I'm going to preface this whole thing by saying out of the 3, Gothel's probably the one I have the least personal experience with so far.
Okay.
So this is mostly flavored just by playing against her and watching her in action. I would contend that Gothel feels like she's kind of power starved too. A lot of times.
Yeah.
Because what she seems like to me is the way the cards are laid out, you kind of want to be comboing her cards together as best you can.
Yes.
As far as like, okay, let's put Rapunzel where we want her, and now let's gain some trust on it. Like there's never really a turn that goes by where you don't want to play 2 cards, and that's why I am kind of grateful that they gave her 2 locations that do have 2 plays.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Right.
Because you always have somewhere that you can go back to. But that's an expensive strategy to go through, constantly trying to combo that and move around Rapunzel and have to worry about, okay, let's see if we can get a Rider out, or let's see if we can get one of the Stabbingtons out, or like that stacks up a lot too.
And the counterpoint is you get 2 bottom row, like 3 power and 2 power. And so you're like, okay, this is where I want to go, and I can play lots of cards. And then all of a sudden you look over at your opponent and like, wait, what had you been doing? I've only got like 2 or 3 trusts so far, or, maybe even 6, and they're almost done because you avoided the other places with the fates. you can get kind of one tracked, I think, with her.
Probably so. And again, that kind of goes back to her really kind of feeling combo heavy. Is in order to really make any trust, you've got to be making those power plays. And the last thing you want to do is have to take a turn to go to the tower and fate somebody when Rapunzel could be schmoozing it up in Corona for who knows how long at that point.
Right.
So,
like,
I feel like I avoid Corona a lot, but I still go to Rapunzel's tower quite a bit because of the move item ally action. But
yes, that location.
I mostly feel that I leave Corona alone.
This is what I'm going to have to say about her locations and the combo stuff, because I've played a lot of Gothel now at this point, because Gothel is Gothel. What is it? So I agree on the Corona space. So like the sidetrack thing, you kind of forget to fate. And Corona definitely is probably the location I go to the least, because overall it is the weakest space in terms of like trying to actually go towards your goal. It doesn't really offer a lot. It does have a discard spot, but even then with the discard spot, that can get covered up because I believe it is on the top.
I'm looking at it. It's on the top.
Yeah, it's on the top. Now the tower though. The tower is actually, I would think, probably her best space. The reason for that is that the cards that are given to her in her deck, they are all unique, but the way that all these cards kind of interact with each other make it so. This goes into what I talk about on the Discord about how she has these like 4-5 trust turns that she can pull off that just make you want to cry yourself to sleep when you're going up against her. Where literally, if you play your cards right, let's say you got the brush out there. Move the brush. Move it to Rapunzel's location. Gain a trust. Then what you can do is make sure that you already have it set up where you have like the crown and the knife at a location. You can defeat Rapunzel, with that. And then she goes back over. That's like 2 trusts right there. So that's 3 trusts. Then let's say you still have the card play. You could play the card. Let's say you got some allies at another location. You could play Revenge. Gain a trust. It's not going to be Rapunzel. There you go. You are stacking up trust like no other. And on top of that, if I didn't play Revenge, I could, in theory, play, what is it? Is it Mother Knows Best or I Love You? I think, no, it's I Love You Most.
Love you most.
Yeah, I Love You Most. And then you net yourself 2. And that's not even counting the fact that if you had Flynn Rider out, if you wanted to defeat Flynn Rider instead, even though you lost 2, you're going to gain 2 back. And if you didn't have 2 to begin with, you're going to lose 2, and you're going to net gain trust off of that. So she has lots of little combos that she can do just at that location. And on top of that, her other locations allow her to do some of the same shenanigans too. I do a lot of misdirections where literally I push her forward, gain a trust, and then I find a way to like push her back or move the brush over. There's lots of combo things. And the nice thing about comboing with her compared to someone like Hades is that her combos really rely on moving cards around. It's not really relying off a lot of card plays. Or not even moving cards around, it's just actions in general, because you have to set up your board state a little bit, but then you either move or vanquish, whatever. You don't really have to play a lot of cards. You still need to play the cards to do it, but still.
I feel like I need a little more experience with it to really like figure some of those out. I don't know. Like I can see how the tower is really good because it, like you said, it does kind of offer everything that she wants.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Corona and I'm not seeing any situation that you'd want to go there like at all.
No, it would.
It's got the discard, but kind of the same thing as Cruella again. What would you be discarding?
And I believe, Corona has the fate spot at the bottom. So the only benefit for going to Corona is that if for some reason you have the top part of the tower with no fate icon on it, or it's covered, and you need to fate for whatever reason, or you need to try to do something about that, you're going to go to Corona.
The only situation that I think would reasonably happen is if you decided to play Egomania.
Yeah.
On someone else's turn, because I don't know that there'd be a lot of heroes dropped over there necessarily.
Yeah.
I think some might if they want to make sure that the fate action is covered. I need to play her more often. Also,
Yeah, because Pascal for sure you don't want over there for obvious reasons. Maximus is going to be played wherever the writers are. So I mean, Flynn I could see being played over there. The King and Queen I can see played over there.
Pascal at the
them,
tower is brutal, though. I'll tell you that much.
what would that do? I haven't experienced it yet, but that would just you vanquish her or move her to the tower in some way, and she immediately moves.
Yeah, she gets
to,
pushed back. She moves forward 1. So it basically makes it so she can't be played at the tower. Like, let's say if you're trying to pull off like I Love You Most at the tower, with Pascal at the tower, there'd be no way you can ever do it because as soon as she gets moved there, she gets pushed forward 1.
Okay, yeah, I haven't experienced it yet, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why him at the tower is bad. I get it now.
The heroes aren't in her fate deck aren't, I would say, super brutal because she has tons of allies because she has so many royal guards it's unnecessary. Since a lot of her heroes are like they're 2, 3, or 4, none of them are 5 strength. You can easily defeat them with either 2 royal guards, maybe a royal rider or royal rider and a guard, and then all the Stabbingtons can defeat anybody.
Right.
Regardless of what strength they have, because there is only one card in here that grants strength, and it's the frying pan, which is absolutely hilarious. Where it's only 1. I think it's hilarious. But even then, it's
should be +3, you guys. I mean, that movie is hilarious, or +4. I mean, that frying pan.
Oh yeah, I honestly thought it'd be +2, but they're like, nope, +1. And I'm like, all right, they're screwing with their heads. But yeah, I think Mother Gothel's really good. She has lots of cool combo plays. I think she's actually more combo. Like I consider Hades a very combo-like character. I think she's more combo heavy than Hades in the fun way, not the depressing way. I think that's what makes her lots of fun. And we know, I'm a fighting game guy, so I love my combos and all the stuff that I do. So the fact that I can do this combo shenanigans with Mother Gothel is probably why I enjoy her so much. I might end up actually liking her more than Facilier as I play her more, but we'll have to kind of let time tell on that one because I've also grown a lot on Scar, playing him more.
Yeah, I'll need a few more games on Gothel to really solidify some of this because most of it's just what I've seen, and I mean I can see how she could be good, but at the same time she feels like she could be shut down pretty quick if you're not careful.
I'll tell you one thing though, I thought Egomania was going to be bonkers good. If you play against any of the original characters, it's trash.
So the trigger for Egomania, that's not the move ally.
That is the move ally or item.
That is the move ally trigger?
That is the move ally or item one.
Huh, I thought it was the other one.
Yeah, no, that's what that is.
I mean, it seems like Gothel wants to be able to put Rapunzel in the tower on her turn sometimes, but for the most part, it seems like you kind of don't want her there.
Right, I think like
you do. If you can keep Rapunzel in limbo between the Snuggly Duckling and the forest, she's only blocking 1 action instead of 2. She's still not at Corona, so she's not actually actively hurting you by being there. Your Royal Guards, which is the main way you're kind of controlling where she is, can keep her there a lot easier than trying to move her all the way back to the tower. And it is a hilarious echo to what I know about the movie, and just giving her that little bit of leeway there in the middle, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, which I enjoy that a lot too. I think that's really clever.
You have to be careful with Egomania. I do have one experience where I played it and moved her to the tower. Okay, all good. I go to the tower. I'm all prepared to, play Let Down Your Hair or, I Love You Most, and fate my opponent back or move the hairbrush or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, I covered up my, I think I had a chance to vanquish her instead, and I was like, oh no, I can play Egomania. And so
Egomania is more of a defense tool. It's not really meant for you to try to progress with that. Because
I agree now.
Yeah, definitely. You can't. You really shouldn't be trying to use that to progress towards your goal. It's more of like she's at Corona or almost going to move to Corona, and you need to move her back, and you don't want to spend money to do it. Which is sometimes what you need to do. But yeah, it sucks. I've done that to myself when I was first learning the character, and I was like, oh, I wanted to move her back, and then I'm like, I can't move the hairbrush to her on my next turn.
Exactly. The same thing happened to me.
And can I also tell you how awesome the hairbrush is? The hairbrush is like the most OP card in the entire game. It's so great.
It really is.
It's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, and the hairbrush is the reason I feel like Gothel has a little bit of the discard.
Right. I was going to say that about Corona. Yeah.
Just because you kind of have to have that hairbrush as quick as humanly possible.
Yeah. I don't. So I think in my experience playing her, if you don't have the hairbrush out right away, as long as you're somewhat playing a little defensive, but then playing a little offensive by either doing some misdirections or some vanquishes on, because you have to understand too that the crown and the knife work against Rapunzel. Now, revenge does not work against Rapunzel to gain you trust, but you can still vanquish Rapunzel using those resources to get to gain trust through it. And then you also have to remember that based off your position, if you're at a location where Rapunzel is and you play I Love You Most, you can gain trust that way too. You're not losing a lot of trust with her either, because as long as she's not at Corona, her fate deck is not really brutal against the trust thing. The most she can ever lose from any fate card is 2, and that's 1 card in the entire set of her fate stuff, and the rest of the cards are just -1. Any one that makes you lose -1, that's it. It's not like Prince John, where you can get like a bunch of characters with Steal from the Rich with 4 money on it, and just kind of like screw you over for a bit. She can get by a little bit with losing 1 trust. It's not horrible. But
I almost feel like the floating lights should have had a little bit more to it. Because moving Rapunzel to Corona is a bit of a problem. But Gothel has enough resources to be able to move her out of Corona before she actually starts counting against her. That, I don't know. I feel like that one's not as impactful as it could have been.
It's tough because the thing is, even when you move her to Corona, she has lots of options to either play a Royal Guard and move her back. She could play a Stabbington, but playing a Stabbington at Corona is pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. You're not going to be playing heroes at Corona. So putting a Stabbington at Corona is kind of a disadvantage to yourself unless you plan on vanquishing Rapunzel at Corona when she gets moved there. That'd be like the only advantage to doing that.
Yes, I feel like floating lights could have had a little bit more to it.
Not every fate card needs to be, ridiculously. I mean, there's King Hubert.
we need more Ariel cards. That's what I want. I want more Ariel, and I want 10 copies of Hakuna Matata in Scar Stick. That's what I want.
Well, I mean, it's like Scar has all these uber brutal fate cards, and Hades has a bunch of uber brutal fate cards, and Gothel has got move her there, and oh, by the way, you can just move her back. Like, where's the detriment there? Like,
I think that the issue is that like you want to try to make it, because like you have to understand that misdirection can't work if she's at Corona. You have to spend 3 power to play a Stabbington boy. Having her at Corona means that if you have a Royal Guard, you have to play a Royal Guard at Corona and then move the Royal Guard back to, I forget what the location is that's to the left of Corona, but
Forest.
Yeah, the forest. But then immediately at the end of the turn, she's just going to move back to Corona. So you're still back at the same situation. So
if you're moving a guard, you're not moving the hairbrush.
Right. So when she's at Corona, even if you're not losing trust, you're at a weird standstill where you really can't gain trust. That's the biggest thing with Corona. I don't even think it's the fact that you lose trust at the end of the turn if she's there. It's more the fact that, I can't do anything.
Right.
I can't progress. You could kill her and using with the items to get trust that way, but even then, I don't find that super effective. Well, that's just my opinion. I played the crap out of her.
I mean,
we'll have to play
I
some
could
more Ditto.
conceive.
Yeah.
We definitely do because I need to see this. But I could conceive of a way where you could take advantage of now I'm the bad guy a little bit.
Oh
to
yeah,
help
there
that.
is. There is definitely some advantages of playing.
Because like she's at Corona, you say spend one on the rider, or the Royal Guard and pull her back,
Right.
and then if you're at the Snuggly Duckling, that's the one with the moving items. So you could potentially set up with the Royal Guard, and now I'm the bad guy. Huh?
I don't think Snuggly Duckling has the move.
No,
item.
it has the discard.
Is it not? It's discard. Okay.
Yeah, it's discard.
I don't know why I thought
Forest
there was
is the one that has the move icon.
ally there.
Yeah.
But like you could combo now I'm the bad guy with the hairbrush and maybe not alleviate the cost on losing the trust, but at the very least get her out of the way.
I found that I am the bad guy is really good in the late game, but the early game it's kind of because the thing is, even if you pull her back to the tower, you have to remember that a lot of your trust turns, you're going to be gaining like 2 trust at the very least. You really aren't going to be trying to be doing a lot of turns where you're gaining just 1 trust unless it's like the only option you have. I found that it's really useful because you move her back. You can instantly play, if you can, a misdirection to move her forward. If you can move the brush to Rapunzel's location. So you gain 2 trust. So even though you lost 1, you're gaining 2. There's all sorts of little tricks that she has that even if you have to pull a I am the bad guy, you can definitely make it back and still net plus with Gothel. But overall, definitely both of you need to play her more if you haven't played her more. She's absolutely
I just hadn't had a whole lot of opportunities to.
Yeah.
So
I know you've had a lot of opportunities to play with one character though. His name is Pete.
Yeah.
Talk about Pete. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Ditto, I want you to talk about Pete because I'm going to say my 2 cents about Pete, and you're probably not going to like it.
All right. I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, go.
Pete's an interesting situation because he kind of takes the idea of wanting to win as fast as possible to the complete extreme.
Oh, yeah.
I've kind of been throwing around the idea that Pete really wants to win before he has to shuffle. And I still stand by that. But just because... Here's the thing. The goals are basically set up to where you're going to be playing all of your allies really early to fill those goals. But the problem with that is once those allies are played, Pete doesn't have a really easy way of recycling them to then go back and use them again to figure out other things. The biggest problem that I have had with Pete so far is I do these really cool bandit power plays to do the 6 in a turn and the 10 or more strength at that location really easy. Like those 2 you can hit within 3 turns if you're careful. Win big with play a game, that one's not that hard.
We don't talk about that one.
That one is pretty easy if you get it early.
I have so much salt about that card.
If you can hit it early, that one's not too bad. Because
having a little less luck with win big and play a game.
Yeah. It just boils down to how early you try to do it. Because if you try to do it while there's still bandits in the deck, you almost can't lose. If you try to do it later when all of your bandits are played, you almost can't win.
Right.
Which is it's like everything Pete does, he wants to do as early as possible. And that really, really hurts when you get down to that last one. The one that it usually ends up being for me is the pile up all the items at this location. Because by then I will have probably already used all the horses. So it's just a slow slog to kind of nudge them into the right spot. The parrots are nice, but again, parrots are only good for stuff that end up in the discard pile.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you find your items are in the discard pile.
I mean, that's not that I can deal with, but it's the fact that you have to play the item to a specific location and then slowly nudge it over to where you actually need it to be. If you've already played your horses to, for example, move one of the items anyway, or maybe maneuver an ally into position, then all of a sudden you're at horses. Or you got them discarded by play a game, that too. Like there's ways around it, but at the same time, once you get down to that last goal, I feel like that's the point that you just always kind of get caught up on.
Yeah, and especially depending on where you put your items for that, it can, like, it depends on how fast you want to move, but it also depends on the goal's location, because then it's possible that when you're trying to put stuff out there, like I was thinking in my head, that depending if it's at a corner, the least amount of move actions, just the raw move action itself, you would have to take is 3. Which is still a lot. That's 3 turns worth of move actions you have to use. And I know Steamboat Willie gives you a move action with it, but even that, let's say you play Steamboat Willie at its location. I believe its location doesn't have a move action.
And that doesn't even get into like Clarabelle and Goofy.
Yeah.
With the token shenanigans, or like Horace. So it's like he's challenging. But
a fun challenge and a good challenge.
But I have never been more validated in this game than the one time, and I can't remember when it happened, but I'm pretty sure I managed to get 3 goals all done at the same time.
Oh, wow.
No way.
I got the 10 strength goal, I got the having the allies at each location goal, and I won the game.
Oh, wow.
All within like a turn of each other.
Oh, wow.
But my last goal in that game was moving the items around, and that I had already kind of played my hand out at that point. So I really got tripped up there. But yeah, really, really love Pete. I said this when we first talked about Perfectly Wretched back in like episode 4 or whatever.
Long time ago.
The mini game style thing that they've done with Pete is like just reminds me 100% of
Kingdom Hearts,
the Timeless River in Kingdom Hearts.
It is very Kingdom Hearts.
Where it was the same thing. And the fact that that's how they went about doing it just makes me so happy.
It definitely bleeds of Kingdom Hearts all over it when you're playing it. It reminds me of it too. I consider this the Kingdom Hearts canon deck.
It's so good.
What is it? Before I go off on my tangent, Aaron, what do you have to say about Pete?
I have to say, every time I preface this, I haven't played very much, but
Okay.
I find him very fun. I do find, again, that you kind of get sucked into the outer locations, and like you just love those power locations, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, Gothel's got like 8 trust. What do I do now? So
that is one nitpick I do have about Pete, is that his deck is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty expensive. You got to build up some power and then do your plays.
3 cost on each of the items. You've got 3 cost on airstrike. You've got 7 2-cost bandits. Not even talking about the horses and stuff. So I mean, he's got a lot of really power hungry cards. And playing the game
in order to play a game kind of coin flip early in the game.
To be fair, playing the game enough times to use it and to ramp up a little bit does help.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. Even if you don't have the win big goal, go ahead and play
he doesn't mind playing the game and discarding an item or 2.
Right.
But it all goes back to Pete has really limited ability once he actually plays something. Like, he has to commit 100%.
And that's what makes Goofy. Like, we had a game where Goofy switched two tokens. One was the Roundup and the other was the Strike It Rich.
Yeah.
My husband had everything set. He had his allies at one place and his items right next to it. Goofy came out and switched them. And he's like, okay, so I have like 2 or 3 turns to move everything back, you know?
Yeah, like that's absolutely crippling. The best you can hope for is to just finish the first couple goals as fast as you can, and hopefully Goofy won't completely ruin you later.
Right,
Goofy.
right.
Um,
I heard a tip from somebody: don't try to finish a goal all the way completely instead of working on multiple goals, because nothing
for
can
sure.
take a goal from being completed.
100%. But at the same time, like especially with the ally-centric goals, because there's only 5, so you're likely to get both of the ally goals.
Yeah.
Those two you can build towards at the same time and probably get away with it. I feel like the other ones kind of, and this was something I was worried about from the very beginning. They all telegraph themselves really badly. So like if they're moving an item somewhere and there's a token there's a good chance that's what that goal is.
That is something.
It's weird to me too, because you have like Goofy and Clarabelle that are all about like goal manipulation, and it's like super clear. Like when Ditto and I were playing last night, as soon as I started playing a game a bunch of times at one location, it's stupid obvious that I'm trying to play a game there, you know?
Right.
And then the same thing with like all the allies. When you're like spreading your allies across all the locations, guess what? They have a goal that has something to do with the allies. The only one I think you can kind of like screw around with a little bit is the 10 strength allies and the items one, because I actually, in a game that I was playing with somebody in the flesh, they completely hoaxed us on their item location, and they made it so when Goofy flipped the tokens around, it actually benefited them.
No way.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That is some galaxy brain play right there.
Yeah, it was like one location away, but they had it so like all 3 locations were at one location, but it was the wrong one. And they were probably going to start moving the locations around, but they were like, all right, you know, regardless of where Goofy gets played, they're going to have to figure out where I have that token, because I think at that point they had 2 or 3 tokens still out on the board.
Right.
So, and even with Clarabelle, all Clarabelle is doing is not only blocking actions, she is revealing a token, so you can kind of, as the fading player, kind of understand where to put stuff. So it's very interesting to see where Pete goes in this meta. I think he needs definitely some more plays, but I think there's some interesting tricks you can probably do as the Pete player.
But I feel like I'm gonna be a little bit of an outlier here, thinking that Pete's actually still gonna be pretty good in the meta.
Oh, I think he will too.
Just the sheer fact that, like I mentioned earlier, you can combo these goals together and clear so many of them out so quickly. That,
win big and power play can be
win
done.
big and power play. They go really well together.
Yeah.
Right.
You can like stack all these things and finish all these different goals at once. And then it kind of goes back to what you were saying before. It's like, hey, Gothel already has 8 trust. Well, I've got 3 goals already. So come at me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like, especially compared, and I think this goes for all 3 of them, honestly, but especially when you go back and compare them to the base box characters, all 3 of these feel like they can move pretty quickly.
Yes.
Like, the overall state of the game is faster than it originally was.
I think so, too. I don't think Cruella as fast as the other 2, but I do agree that they're overall faster.
I'm not 100% sure. I think I'd like to try some of these against Maleficent. I feel Maleficent can be relatively fast.
I mean, Maleficent can win almost instantly if you're not careful.
Yeah. That's
right. So, okay. So she's really, or even, I guess we shouldn't even mention Evil Queen.
Maleficent, Evil Queen, Facilier, are all probably the 3 fastest.
Hey, Maleficent can beat Evil Queen pretty hard.
We're not talking tier list.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call these 3 the slowest. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go for it.
I wouldn't call these 3 the slowest, but definitely like middle of the road in terms of speed.
Because like Cruella is the slowest out of these 3, for sure.
Yes.
But even she, like, to me, feels faster than Ratigan or Prince John or Hook or any of these generally sort of middle range characters, like she could keep up with them pretty easily. Match her up against someone like Facilier, she may struggle. Match her up against someone like Jafar, and who knows?
Right.
I have to say, though, Maleficent against Evil Queen, holy crap.
That'll be over in 15 minutes.
Like, Maleficent, like, Evil Queen, I don't think has any real counter, or, like, no one can counter her except for Maleficent. That is the one character that, by far, like, just wipes the floor. Like, we'll just take Evil Queen and just take her little face, turn it into a witch face, and throw her out the window.
I could understand that logic, because Evil Queen cannot fade.
Yeah, that's her biggest problem. That is her biggest problem in that matchup. It is brutal.
I like those evil ladies.
I know. That's why I'm so glad about I like Gothel. I struggle super hard in my fighting games to find female characters that I enjoy playing with, because none of them like fit my playstyle in those games. But like Gothel is so up my alley. I now can like say that I actually have a female representative character I enjoy playing with in like the games. It's great. It makes me feel good.
And Cruella too. I mean, I think they really hit it with two good female characters for this. And not just like, oh, they're easy to win with, like Maleficent and Evil Queen, but like there's thinking and there's planning and stuff like that involved.
Weirdly, and like I can't really speak much for Tangled, because like I said, I hadn't really watched a whole lot of it. But I do remember 101 Dalmatians really well. And the amount of planning and forethought that goes into playing her in Villainous, you follow that in the movie really well. Like, there is a whole lot of really delicate stuff that goes into her operations in the movies. And the fact that you have to be just as careful in the game with her is incredibly satisfying. Like, it's so good.
I recently watched 101 Dalmatians actually before I got the set, and I 100% agree with you. Like the art specifically,
like
really
the thematics is so perfect.
Yeah, like with Hell Hall having the ability to do both of her really good actions at it, and all that stuff, I think is really just like a clever way of doing it. Let me talk about my thoughts on Pete here, because I have some things to say.
Go for it.
Okay, before I preface everything I'm about to say, I still think Pete is a very well-designed character. I still think he's one of the best designed characters in the game. However, I am very touting on what Ditto has spoken about his game plan of, I want to move fast, but if I can't move fast enough, I am done so. The thing is that Pete's whole thing is like he wants to try to accomplish these goals and like as fast as he possibly can, because he can kind of combo them, like you said. But what happens is once you start accomplishing a lot of the goals, the latter goals start becoming a little troublesome. So like it doesn't matter necessarily what those goals are. They can start to be a struggle, because so like let's say for whatever reason you decide to complete the items goal first. That's a lot of money you have to spend. You have to gain that money back to play. Let's say if you have to still complete the allies goals, you got to get the money to do that. You can get pretty power starved pretty fast right there. Play a game. Let me tell you a little thing about playing the game. I want to go take that card and eat it.
Y'all are going to see a video go up of
in 3 weeks.
Of a play.
3 weeks you will see it.
They demonstrates just how hilarious play a game can be.
Yeah. The thing with play a game is that I could see an early game probably being the card you should go for. The problem, though, with play a game, though, is that when you discard a card that you need towards your goal, that card is in your discard pile. Now, granted, you do have parrots to get the cards back out, but guess what? Parrots cost money. So it makes it difficult, because the thing that happened in the game that you will see that Ditto and I played against each other, I was trying to play a game towards the end, and I had already put all 3 of my items I needed out and accomplished that goal. I actually purposely did not play the last item so I can keep another 3-cost card in my deck as much as I possibly could. And then on top of that, you also have to make sure that you have some bandits in there. No, Oswald was out.
Oswald
but I actually
was there twice, but yeah, he got rid of him.
Yeah, I got rid of Oswald. But that's the thing, is that since I had bandits out for my allies' goals, or because I did not have the 10 strength one, but I had the one at each location. Since I had so many bandits out there to do 2 of my goals, I was like, well, crap, I am stuck in a weird spot right now.
Yep.
Where I have a lot of expensive cards out my board and I can't do that. I've also run into the same thing before with the items thing after I spent a bunch of money on allies, and then I'm like, crap, I have to get a bunch of money to play these items on top of just moving the damn things. And then I've also seen people struggle with that when they were playing Pete, where they were having issues just trying to make sure they can balance their goals out. Because Ditto can attest that when we played this game, I accomplished my first 3 goals super fast. And then after that, it was a slog. It was nothing but trying to set myself up for play a game.
Is that there's no way to discard the cards that you've played except for vanquishing.
Right.
Exactly. That will always be Pete's core issue. Is that once he's played, because so much of his deck is these allies. He's got what? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 allies?
Yeah, he's got a lot
in his deck. It's like half his deck is just allies. And once they're on the board, the odds, like even if you are vanquishing, the odds of you being able to get rid of them enough and shuffle your deck enough to really take advantage of those allies more than once is really low.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that you would be using 2 or 3 allies to vanquish, you just want to airstrike as soon as you can anyway.
Right.
And everything that you wouldn't want to airstrike is just a, 2 power, 1 ally will do this. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like a lot of the heroes are low strength.
Biggest issue is his board gets cluttered up so much, and you play out to try to get the combos early, and then you get to your last goal and you have nothing left to work with. You have Sneaky Pete's. What good is that going to do?
I do have to say the Sneaky Pete mechanic and how that works with like play a game and other cards is really clever.
Way back in like the unboxing video, if you remember this.
Yes.
The Stephanie, our sort of rep for the game, mentioned that they designed Pete to kind of feel like a Magic the Gathering character.
Oh, it definitely does.
This is how.
Yeah.
This would be how. I love this card. I love everything about this card.
It is very clever.
And let me just tangent on this real quick, because this is something that you'll notice. I don't know if it's as much in Gothel, but definitely with Cruella and definitely with Pete. They have changed one thing that I absolutely love. All of these draw X cards and then discard, they fixed. It's now draw X and then discard X -1, so that by playing the card that gives you the effect, you're not losing cards. The biggest issue that I've had for a long time is Maleficent's draw 3, discard 3 condition. Ursula's draw 3, discard 3 condition. Is that you end up losing cards on average playing those conditions. With Sneaky Pete and Mischief and what have you, all of a sudden you're not, like, you're keeping that extra card. So you're not, there's a little bit less of a cost towards using that effect.
I didn't even
if that
think
makes
about
sense.
that.
But that is something, like, even up until Beauty Sleep, in a way, kind of does that a little, because it's a play 1 card, but you draw 2 later.
Yeah.
Does kind of fix it. But this is the first set where they really kind of gung-hoed on always trying to keep the same net amount of cards. And that is so nice.
It's called options, everybody. It's called
It's so
options.
good.
I was going to say that. It sounded like options.
We need an options emote in the Discord.
We really do. Like,
Well, I might try to
feels
make
so
one.
nice.
But no, I didn't even think about that. I didn't, because, like, so in theory, like, the way that's set up is that when you are discarding something, you are willingly doing that. The game is not forcing you to discard.
Exactly. It's not forcing you to discard something. Like, if you're drawing 3 and discarding 3, it's going to be hard to decide what you want to keep at that point, especially if you only have like 2 other cards in your hand. Like, what is going to be the most advantageous there? If you're allowed to keep 1 extra card after that, that opens up so many things, especially for someone like Pete who really needs that draw power. It's
he does.
so nice.
Wow.
I can't tell. Do you like that, Ditto?
And like even beyond that, and this is what makes it even better. Sneaky Pete does not necessarily outright make you discard the card. All you do is stuff it at the bottom of your deck where it's gone, yes, but you'll still get it back later.
Or at the top of your
deck.
deck.
Now, I'll get it later.
Stick it at the top and set up for play game.
Right.
Like, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm so glad you love the character.
It feels so good. And like, yeah, Pete's got issues, but
No, because that's why I was prefacing. I was like, I still think Pete is a very still better design than a lot of the characters that we've got in the 2 expansions. Like, I won't go on that list. That's a list for another day. But he's definitely better than some at least 1 or 2 characters from both Evil or Wicked to the Core. I keep saying Evil to the Core. And then Evil Comes Prepared. But he's still a really good character. I think he's really fun, even with my frustrations. I will really admit, I got salty last night. I got so salty. It was bad.
I was getting salty for you. Don't worry.
It was just delaying the inevitable. Seriously,
that was awful. That game, y'all have to see this.
It's an hour worth of nonsense. At this point,
you may have to expedite putting that video out because
it's already uploaded.
See it.
It's uploaded. They're going to see it.
Oh, it's so miserable.
Yeah, it's a good match though. It was a fun match to say the least.
Oh, it was incredible.
But well, I'm glad we all like the set. It seems like I think the big I keep saying options, but even what you were saying, Ditto, I like the fact that they're taking the whole thing of not just options in terms of spaces on the board. It's also things like, hey, we know characters need particular cards in their hand for them to accomplish their particular goals. So what you're saying with Pete, making so he's not raw discarding cards, or with Cruella, it's you're not revealing cards then to get an ally or an item or whatnot, and then chuck the rest of them and you lose a bunch of options. It's you're not losing stuff that you might need down the road, which is giving you options. Some people might not view it in a positive light, but I do, because just essentially how these characters play, you definitely still want to be able to play those cards. And
one thing about the set that I kind of mentioned it earlier, but goes along with the options thing, is yes, they have all these different options, but also yes, they kind of need all these different options.
Yes,
because these are the most complicated characters this game has ever seen.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
More than Jafar.
Number of steps you have to go through to get some of this stuff done. You have to think a turn or 2 or maybe even 3 turns in advance to get some of these strategies to really pop off. And that's all. It's a whole new echelon of mentality for this game. Yeah. And I think that's going to be probably the biggest challenge towards introducing it to the rest of the series so far, because I don't want to say the rest of the characters are super one-note necessarily, but for the most part, you can pick out an optimal strategy for everybody else. I can't see that there's really going to be an optimal strategy for.
Well, that's what makes these characters good. Because I've said this too in the Discord, is what makes these characters fun. A lot of the characters, they have one optimal strategies, but there's more than one, and more than 2, maybe 3. With these characters, there's definitely I couldn't tell you with Gothel, get the hairbrush out, but even with the hairbrush out, what is the setup plan the next turn or the turn after that to
you
start
have to
getting
think,
the trust? There's
you have to think really far,
thing.
Setting things up.
Yeah,
a lot with these characters, and it's nice. It's nice to have characters that you actually have to set up in advance for, that people won't automatically. Okay, we know what you're trying to do here.
Right.
Yeah, do a little chess
Fate Storm. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So I got one more question, and we'll end the show on this. So we know there's going to be at least one more Disney set, probably two, maybe a big box. We won't go into that whole hypothetical discussion shenanigans. I've beat that one to a dead horse, although I love the conversation. So kind of going along with what you're saying, Ditto, with the fact that the characters, like, because like one of the common themes within the characters is like defeat a hero, you know, or have these particular cards in this location or something like that. This set really broke the mold where that doesn't really exist. With not trying to like say about, oh, what if these characters made it in? Like, do you think the future characters are also going to operate like this, or do you think they're going to go back to some traditional things to accomplish that?
I think it could be a bit of a blend.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because, in case you guys missed the last couple of things, there's a Marvel villainess coming out this year.
Yeah.
And I think
heard about that.
a lot of the basic sort of defeat X hero stuff might be going more to them later.
Makes sense.
A little bit.
Maybe.
Here's the thing. We have Gaston as somebody who we know is kind of missing. Oogie Boogie.
Bring back the bag. Bring back the bag.
At this point, they have teased so much about him that I am not convinced that he won't come.
He has to come.
Chernabog is still a really big thing that they could kind of play around with.
I bet he could have interesting gameplay.
He could. He really could.
Yeah.
You should ask Will Smith on the Discord what he's doing with Chernabog, because he's doing a custom that's pretty rad.
Okay. I might talk to him. I'm curious.
And for me personally, Frollo.
Yeah, I know you want your Frollo.
Still a top pick. And all four of those that are like the most solid choices still have they have multiple ways you could look at their objectives, all of which don't necessarily revolve around the heroes.
Right.
I think going forward on the Disney side, it's extremely likely that we'll keep seeing more of these characters that are, okay, here's the actual objective you want, and hey, if you happen to hit the heroes while you're at it, you know, good on you. Like making the heroes... Go ahead.
I think it might be a little bit of a pendulum swing with the next expansion, maybe at least one that has some sort of defeat hero objective. Gaston would be maybe an easy one if they just wanted to ignore Belle and do defeat Beast.
Exactly.
Although I think that would be a cop-out.
On the last podcast, I actually thought the opposite. I thought Gaston's best thing would be centric around Belle, and if the Beast happens to get in the way, well, got a few clubs for him.
Right.
But
and that could work too. I just think that they may do a pendulum swing and at least throw us another defeat.
But as of now, what I am hoping for is that the next set is going to be kind of an early fall set, and that it's going to be the Halloween spooky pack.
Give me the bag.
I still think a Halloween spooky pack with Chernabog, Horn King, and Oogie can be done really well.
Can Mim get in there so we get a female?
Mim? Oh, yes.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That Halloween
kick the Horn King, get Madam Mim in here.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that too. She'd be hilarious fun. For sure.
Save Chernabog for the big box.
Save Chernabog for the big box. That could work.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Oogie would be the only one out of that set that would really have the strict defeat a hero besides maybe Mim. But even Mim, I mean, you guys have probably seen my custom at this point.
I played
like
custom. It's pretty good.
Merlin, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of roundabout ways to do it. So I think avoiding the strict defeat X hero is definitely plausible.
Do you think there's going to be any other characters that are going to have, like, say, keep the cards at this location at the start of your turn type of ordeal? Because I can think of one if they get in it, and I think it'd be clever how you would have to get it done.
Who's that?
Tremaine.
Yeah.
Ever since I played this expansion, I am really down for them trying to make a Lady Tremaine where it's the whole complex thing of don't make sure Cinderella doesn't get to the ball, and you have like a stepsister or have to marry the prince or something about make sure the slipper doesn't get to the prince or something like that. I think there can be something really clever done with that. and I would really look forward to seeing
it's
it.
hilarious that you're the one bringing Tremaine up back when we were first started talking about all this speculation stuff. I was the one that kept lobbying for Tremaine.
Yeah, you convinced me. That is the one that I'm super convinced that she will.
I could see her coming in. I think Tremaine would work well in a set with Gaston.
I think so too.
At some point in the future. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna try to keep some of my thoughts about some of that quiet because we have all the time in the future.
We'll need to wait, not get too crazy.
Figure that one out.
But, Aaron, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think I just want more expansions. I'm a little nervous about Marvel coming out. I'm afraid that means the death to the Disney line, but I hope not. I hope it means
we know for sure that it's not the immediate death of.
Yeah.
Okay.
We know that for sure. It's been confirmed.
My only worry, but
yeah, there are plans for more after Marvel. We just don't know how much.
Yeah.
Yet.
We don't know the future.
Many great villains out there.
Yeah, I will say this, and we'll end it on that. In terms of this topic, after this set, I am very excited to see what they do with the rest of the characters. I think there's some really interesting mechanics that they can
without a
throw
doubt.
in.
Oogie and a dice mechanic would be beautiful.
It needs to happen. If it doesn't happen, I will throw pitchforks.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you proved it that the dice mechanic can be fun. Like, even if that's not exactly what they do, having some type of die mechanic.
Like, having any sort of die mechanic in any character, but especially for Oogie because it's so pertinent.
Yeah.
Would be the same degree of departure that I think they started with this set.
Yeah. I think there's
where they're just
definitely
introducing
cool
some new layers to the game, and I think that would be the next logical step.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. I'm looking forward to the future. I hope the rest of you listeners are as well. Thank you so much. This is our longest show, believe it or not. We've gone on for almost an hour and 30 minutes. Can you believe it?
I could easily believe it.
It's a great
There's been so much to talk about. There's so much.
I know. There's so much. I just want to talk. All I want to do. I just want to have a podcast where we just talk about nothing but Oogie Boogie. That's what I really want to do and drive everyone insane.
No joke. Like, we need to pick a weekend out at some point and just have a full day-long live stream talking about this stuff.
Yeah, do a live show.
Awesome.
Yeah. You folks in the comments will have to let us know if you'd be interested in a live podcast.
We need to do something like that. Get some commenter interaction in here.
I would dig it.
Just make a big party out of it.
I would enjoy it. I think it'd be great. Let us know in the comments, everybody. Yeah, seriously, this is Ditto's idea. I'm giving it all credits to Ditto on this one.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, no. Everyone's gonna be pointing at you now.
South, everyone's gonna be blaming me.
Yeah, I know exactly. They can't blame me. It'll be your fault. But it's okay. But anyway, we're gonna end the show there. Thank you both for joining me. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us. I'm glad that you're back on. It's always nice to have you.
Thank you.
Ditto. As always, thank you for joining us. You're a great co-host.
Not a problem.
But until then, friends, until next time, stay wicked, and we'll see you folks on the next show.